And we are live at Suzilla.
Are we now? Hello, I'm Susie. That's Matt, and you are live with Suzilla at Wenatchee Insurance in Wenatchee, Washington. Hello.
Yes. And today's the color episode.
Is it okay? It is July 3rd,
Uh-huh.
and we're going to be out of the office on July 4th. So I've got
Yay,
my
freedom.
I've got my T-shirt that says "Freedom, Liberty, Happiness" on it. I said,
Mhm.
"Gosh, should I wear that today?" I mean, it's like I don't want anyone to look at me and think I'm, you know, you know I didn't want anyone to not think that I have a liberal agenda because I do have a liberal agenda.
Yeah, but the concern is the kind of the overuse of red, white, and blue.
Yeah, and the abuse of it, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Yeah, it is a great way of putting that because we grew up before 1976.
Yes, we were 6 years old at the National Bicentennial, and
And
even that wasn't as bad as it is now.
correct. And that was um, that was kind of the starting of the end of the US flag code.
I remember there was an episode of Barney Miller
Mm-hmm.
that it was in 1976 or so, and there was this whole big thing because someone was wearing a pair of shorts that were us that looked like the US flag, and so they got arrested for it, and it was a whole big comedy bit.
Yeah, there was a couple episodes. I want to say they also did one where it was a flag on the back of a jacket,
Yeah.
and they took the jacket off and folded up the flag. And that's kind of where you know we grew up with was that kind of the respect.
Yeah.
You don't wear it. You don't put it on disposable items. And that has kind of changed. It started changing in the bicentennial.
Hmm.
It changed even further after 9/11.
Oh my gosh, it just exploded after 9/11. Used to be, well, around in the 70s
Mm-hmm.
and up in the 80s, you would see stylized American flag like
Mm-hmm.
products, but you would actually see a napkin with an American flag on it.
I think that also helped kind of the increase in the rebel flag,
Oh,
stars and
probably.
bars,
You're probably right.
because yeah, that's one of those things. Didn't really do much for the Puerto Rican flag,
Well, not in the West Coast,
not
at
in the
least.
West Coast, or the French flag.
Uh, maybe down Louisiana, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Although unlikely. I don't know. Go on.
So yeah, the red, white, blue. So we saw this kind of this increase after 9/11, and it got another bump a couple years ago with the Tea Party.
Yeah. Yep. That was more than a couple of years ago, but probably close to 20 years ago now.
I guess it's like 17 was the last time that Obama was in office.
Like I said, close to 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time for him, and you started to see the rise of the alternate flags,
Okay.
like the Gladstone flag.
Right. The "Don't Tread on Me" flag.
Yeah, because it's yellow.
Yeah. It pops.
Suddenly you've got you start to see these alternate colors come into play, and that's one of the things that's like okay, because yesterday or the day before I'm watching my little videos on TikTok, and there's a store over in Snohomish, the candle store.
Malicious women.
Yeah, and famously, they had a person that was running the front desk, the small gal, and out of the corner of the eye, the owner could see this mass of red, white, and blue come in, and it was like, oh no, it's a Trumper. They're gonna mess with my person.
This particular candle company is known for its flat out progressive attitude and potential and candles and labels and things that could be insulting to those of a delicate constitution.
Yes, and
Mm-hmm.
they've had problems in the past with Trumpers coming in
Oh, very much
and
so.
messing with their staff.
That's absolutely true. They actually have a reader board that number of Karens this week.
Mhm.
People who come in and give them heck because they don't think it's appropriate that they have rainbow flags in their window.
Mhm.
Stuff like that. Okay, so these red, white, and this pack of red, white, and blue people came in,
Mhm.
and what happened next?
So the Sora runs to the front to make sure that her person's taken care of.
Good leadership, by the way.
And discovered that the people with the red, white, and blue were coming from a No Kings protest.
All right, donate that.
And it was, but that surge of adrenaline of, oh my gosh, I got to protect my people, was brought out by this color combo.
Exactly.
And it's an overuse of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not talking, someone that's purple hair and no, this is actually a Navy veteran.
Mm-hmm.
That did that. So you're starting to see this in multiple waves, and it's like, okay, this is not a good sign. We've gone to a couple protests, and we've heard, oh my gosh, you can't fly a Mexican flag, which is red, white, and green.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, everyone should be flying American flags because of the imagery.
Right. Well, what you're running into is the conservative right has very much co-opted the patriotism concept and used the American flag as its a standard, I guess, is a good way. Yeah, I guess that's one way to put it.
Well, yeah, the famous red blue thing.
Red state, blue state.
Red. That's been around for a while now.
Yeah, but that's part of it. That's why the MAGA hats are red. That's why Donald Trump traditionally wears a red tie,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. What you've got is the people who are left-leaning liberals, I guess you could say, are afraid to show their patriotism. I'm for me.
Well, it's not afraid.
I'm afraid.
They don't want to be associated.
Yeah, and that's fear. I can speak of that from personal feelings here, dude.
See, mine as a dude, completely different. It's like, I don't want to be associated with those people because they've got bad behavior.
Right, and I don't want to be associated with those people because I don't want to be anywhere near them most of the time. So I was a little concerned about wearing this T-shirt today.
But that's different than being afraid.
Okay, well, maybe it's not fear, maybe it's concern. I don't know, but either way, I have to. I thought twice before I put this shirt on today,
mm-hmm.
because I was born, raised, family. We're 3 generations in since my family immigrated-ish. No, probably more than that now. But either way, no, my great grandmother was an immigrant. So yeah, 3 generations in
mm-hmm.
of from immigration, born and raised, lived all my life in my happy little town,
mm-hmm.
and I've always been pretty. There's always been points of annoyance, but I've generally been pretty proud to be an American.
mm-hmm.
Pretty happy to say, yeah, I'm cool with that. And lately, it's been harder, and so with the whole overuse of the symbolism that has always said America,
mm-hmm.
it has really gotten tainted.
The Americana,
I guess. Well, no, because Americana is more like, that's
you're using classic symbols, and red, white, and blue fall into that category.
Yeah, I guess so.
So it's very traditional. It's very. We are kind of blessed in our area
mm-hmm.
in the fact that we are just a hop, skip, and a jump away from Leavenworth, which totes its Bavarian.
That's true. We do have the Bavarians,
and that is a white and blue.
Yeah.
Color combo.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's that, and so there are different ways that if you fall in and you want to identify with a category, you can
mm-hmm.
by switching up your color palette.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ones I've done, because I've always had kind of a flag code running in the back of my head.
Oh yeah, that's a veteran thing.
And well, there's that, and there's the boys that run around with the flags on their sleeves that never served.
Oh, that just
Yeah, there's a certain gear out there that has flags on their sleeves, and that really quickly identifies the posers to me. And so it's like, no, I want to stay away from those. So I stay away from the flag material, and I flipped it to a lot of the army green.
Yeah.
And that's an easy way that I play that game. Famously, I was with 3rd Infantry Division, so I'll do the white and blue.
Right, because that's your infantry color. That's your division colors.
Yeah.
So you have, although you are a patriotic American.
Yeah.
Because you love your country, you want to support the Constitution, you want this country to do right by its citizens, which is how that's patriotism.
Yeah.
Not I want to do right by the people I like.
Well, it's I look at things, and it's really, people accuse me of doing politics, and I look them dead in the eye and remind them of, no, I do policy.
Okay.
And then there's a distinction. And the distinction kind of stems away from, okay, I'll use the big, beautiful bill.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people that are pushing that bill because it owns the libs. It provides our side with a win. I look at it as, okay, who does this benefit? Where is the value to America if this bill is passed?
Right.
And I asked that question. I've actually asked a couple people. Oh, it must be good. The Republicans did this. Okay, cool. Point out the good points.
And it's very hard to do that.
There isn't.
No. What you run into is what's considered good, air quotes, is only benefiting the 1%, the small, not even that,
okay.
But it's not even benefiting the billionaires?
The billionaires aren't a majority.
I didn't say majority.
So what we're talking about is, what is the veneer that gets the bill across the majority of the people?
Oh, and that is the whole anything but it's the owning the libs thing. It's like we get to or it's like, but if you just take a peek behind the curtain, you will see it is ripping away benefits that have been in place for decades that help people.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other conversation. This is how you get things across. This is how things are presented in a simplistic fashion. One of the quickest, simplest things that we have used across time are signal flags.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, all the way back to when you had people communicating across nations and lighting fires, as it's like the fires of Gondor.
Yeah. So you have the ability to send signals using colors, and so you start to. It's a very simplistic way of communicating.
It's white smoke versus black smoke if you're voting for a pope.
Yeah. But that is, our we've got that hardwired in. So you start to play with it, and the coloration and so how do you break that? Well, first of all, if you want to do the red, white, and blue thing, throw away the lines and the stars.
Well, like this one's just all script. This T-shirt, it's colors, but it's words.
It's words, and it leans into, because then you're starting to run into the different nations that use that.
This could be France.
It's very French.
This could very much be French, because it's red on the top, white in the middle, and blue on the bottom, which is the French flag. And the red says freedom, the white says liberty, and the blue says happiness, and it's all in a curly little script. This is very much constitutional.
Yes.
Which I'm a big supporter of. The Constitution does good things.
So yeah, that is one way that you could instantly soften the whole, oh my gosh, this is one side of jerks I could fall into. This is a way that you can show your patriotism
Mhm.
without having those additional markers.
Right. Well, when I was asking about this morning, it's like, well, Matt said, well, what part of that don't you like? What part don't you support? Do you not support happiness, liberty, or freedom? Okay, so I'll put my shirt on.
So sometimes you have to if someone is faced with that, oh my gosh, I got to react
Mhm.
because of the visuals,
Mhm.
because about 80% of us are visuals.
Yeah.
You got to be prepared to do a follow up,
Mhm.
and that's where a lot of people fail. It's like, okay, and that was the simple question. Okay, which of those words don't you like?
It's like DEI.
It's like DEI.
And one of the ways that that kind of stuff gets diffused is using acronyms.
Mhm.
You know, diversity, equity, inclusion.
Mhm.
What part of diversity, equity, or inclusion do you not like?
Mhm.
How many people can't tell you what DEI stands for
Mhm.
or what it supports? But yet they'll say, no, we can't have DEI. It's
Mhm.
it's evil. It's evil. It's liberal. You know, got to own the libs. We can't have DEI.
Well,
That's a good example,
that's a
though.
good example. A great example is, okay, you love the country and you're flying a dirty ratty flag.
Yeah, that
It doesn't sell.
it doesn't sell. No.
It doesn't, and it's presenting a false image, and it's like, okay, cool, you love it. When are you gonna follow the rules about the flag? Why aren't you taking it down at night?
Mhm.
Because it's not eliminated.
You got to have a light on it if it's going to be up 24/7.
Or, oh my gosh, why are you flying an oversized flag so it's dragging on stuff?
Mhm.
There are
If you're going to have a flag that big, you better have a big flagpole, and that's not the case in some places.
no even
Oh, and actually, that's a really good
Mhm.
example of how the bigger the flag, the better American I am.
Mhm.
No.
And people get wrapped up in those images, and it's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, res- how do you start to work in what your feelings are,
Mhm.
or what is the depth? This is how you start to act. You ask about, okay, how does this policy affect America?
Mhm. Exactly. Now, don't look at it from a dig. You don't even have to dig very deep.
Mhm.
Just look under the veneer.
And this is the important reason why I say ask that question. How does this affect America?
Mhm.
You've stripped out the politics of it.
Mhm.
You've stripped out it provides us a win. Cool.
Okay.
How does it affect America?
Let's look at the policy.
Because the person that's saying it gives us a win or it owns the libs
Mhm.
is already political.
Yep. And they're not interested in the policy.
And they're not interested in the policy, but they're political.
Mhm.
And that's the important difference between policy and politics.
There you go.
And so with using these simple images, you can get a way in. One of the things I famously said to Susie is like, hey, don't wear black because we do life insurance.
That's true. Don't wear black when you get, yeah.
Don't wear black when you do. And it's one of those goofy things. It's like, yeah, you don't want to, you don't want to come
be somber
and gothic and got your white face on. It's like, no, you just don't do that. Until it's time not to do that.
Until it's time not to do that. There's always a point.
There's always a point. But yeah, there is a point. I think like the first 5-6 years, I didn't wear a single black shirt to work.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
That's changed along the way, and then my attires changed, but that was kind of one of the basics of that. Is I didn't want to convey that dark, heavy imagery.
Mm-hmm. Well, you do have some black T-shirts, but they're graphic now, and they always have something fun on. Like today, to be fair, you're wearing maroon that says, Abe Froman Sausage King of Chicago on it. Hard to go wrong.
Well, yeah, it's because I want to convey that lightness of oh my gosh, you got to take a moment to enjoy things.
That's right. Or otherwise, you'll miss it.
But yeah, so yes, it is kind of a maroon.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a traditional color that identifies me with one team or another.
Mhm.
So it's very neutral,
Mhm.
and that's how I start to inject neutrality
Mhm.
into a situation. Is I do these off colors.
I don't know if you can consider.
It's an off color. It's off the red, white, and blue.
Okay,
It's
that I'll
off.
allow.
It's off the black spectrum. It's off the white spectrum.
It's just maroon.
It's maroon.
Mhm.
You'll see that with that, purple,
Mhm.
and green.
Yeah. There you go. Yellows, but I can't wear yellow. I look terrible in yellow.
Yellow and orange are kind of out there because they're a little bit harsh.
Yeah.
Because the reason why you get the yellow and the orange are a little bit harsh.
Those are warnings colors.
Warning colors.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to do that. Yellow was also for biological weapons.
Oh yeah, that's
so
true.
I gotta stay away from that stuff. So there are distinctions. Why yellow is kind of one of those ones you don't play with. Orange, you kind of you don't.
Well, no, we've got a few browns though.
Browns are usually pretty neutral to play with because but you got to play with it.
Mhm.
It's one of those harsh ones because Obama famously got hammered for his tan suit.
Mhm. He looked really good in it though.
Oh yeah, and then because that plays with the contrast of the skin color.
Mhm.
It's like I'd be hard pressed to pull off a yellow and look decent.
Mhm.
I could probably pull an orange.
Yeah,
without too much.
You probably could. You're a little on the olivey side for that.
Mm-hmm.
I do not do well in those bright color, the bright yellow, bright
Mhm.
orange. I get so sallow. I do best in jewel tones
Mhm.
generally.
And so you start to inject that neutrality,
Mhm.
purples, greens, some of the shades of blue.
Mhm.
We do the friendly blue.
Yeah, like a royal blue. Although that with the way with the
Royal's too dark. Tiffany blue.
Yeah.
Or a robin egg blue.
Yeah, friendly blue.
It's a friendly blue.
It is a friendly blue. It's pretty blue.
But yeah, that is how you start to my little monster cup. That's how you start to inject neutrality into the situation. Camo kind of falls in the category of black.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit too harsh until you fall out of the traditional green woodland camo and you start to play with the red and the blue and the purple camos.
Yeah. Then it's more cosplay than actual camo.
Yeah, but that's the it's like if I really want to lay into the camo, I traditionally use the chocolate chip pattern, which is what we use in Desert Storm.
If someone's wearing camo, you're looking at somebody who is either okay. I don't know very many veterans that wear camo unless they are in a parade situation.
Yeah, normally the average veteran. It's like, it was cool to do our cutoff BDUs when we got out.
Yeah.
But that gets old after a while. It's like, oh yeah, we also switched over to jorts eventually.
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't, I think our number one person that we have in our life that wears camo is probably the most unmilitary person ever, and that's Gretchen.
Yep.
She's an artist that loves to dress in camo.
Yep. And she is not. She's not military in the least.
Yeah.
No.
But that
is her. That's her look.
Mm-hmm. And when you start to run into artists that want to blend into the background, it makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm. If she wants her, because the artist who blends in the background, her art stands out.
Yeah, and traditionally when we were doing urban stuff in the city, if you wanted your it was who's the stage ninjas?
Yeah.
And that was one of the things we went to a show recently, and it's like stage ninjas weren't all in black.
Most of them were.
It was still.
Everybody was. It was all hands on deck.
It was all hands on deck, but it was still the stage ninjas were in black, and it's just like, wait a minute, that's wrong. But that's the identifier, the little kind of the finesse point.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, they're in dark clothes. It's all hands on deck. It makes sense. But if you okay, let's go to say yes, they're black. They're in black jeans, black shoes, black t-shirt. Go, and that's where you get the stage ninjas too.
Yeah.
But that's running it in a very military manner, I guess it is. That's my mindset.
Maybe.
But it's something that I grew up with when we were doing stage work. You're blending in the background. All the colors go on the main cast.
Yeah, you're not to be. You're
not to be seen.
Your tool. Not in that way.
But yeah, that was so heavy black, camouflage. I'm trying to think of there should be a third grouping. I want to say the Canadian tuxedo.
Denim?
All denim.
That's a heavy look.
It's a very heavy look, but that's possibly the third for. You're kind of pushing a character at this point.
Well, what about the plaid flannel right now, which pisses me off.
Plaid flannel.
Yeah, the mega church is using the plaid flannel shirts.
That okay, depending on the flannel print,
mm-hmm.
you will it runs between working man and elite trying to play working man.
Right.
There's a fine distinction.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there is. I mean, we grew up through the age of grunge.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why grunge had flannel was because it was cheap.
And it was also chilly in Seattle.
And it was working man. And so you saw those working man attire.
Mm-hmm.
Hipsters also adopted it. The work shirts with the name.
Yeah.
The name badge.
Yeah, and the bowling shirts is another one.
The bowling shirts. Bowling shirts kind of fallen out of favor.
No, but the mechanic with the badge.
Mechanic with the badge.
Mm-hmm.
That's still a little bit on the hipster side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit on the edge, almost out of favor. Same with the Hawaiian shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Hawaiian shirts, it was one of the things I pointed. Our son has gotten into is wearing Hawaiian shirts.
He wears them sort of like camp shirt style.
And we had to joke about because of the Boogaloo Boys.
But they've fallen out of trend anyway. The Boogaloo Boys.
After January 6th, they kind of fallen out of trend. Who knows if they'll reemerge?
They'll just reintegrate in other ways.
And the tiki culture is kind of on the dying out side of things.
Yeah. Well, the tiki torches caused problems because they were part of the Boogaloo Boy stuff.
No, I'm talking the tiki culture of the
whole
bar set.
No, I get that. And it comes and goes.
Yeah.
We were looking at the tiki stuff, gosh, when we were first married at like 20 years ago, over
mm-hmm.
20 years ago. And it comes and goes. I mean, it petered out and it's came back a little bit and now it's petering back out. It's cycle. Fashion is cyclical.
No, well, yeah, it first really kind of emerged on the American mindset.
It was the 50s.
It was
40s, 50s.
It was
Hawaii.
It was Hawaii. A really good example of it being brought in was the rise of
Trader Joe's.
Well, you had Trader Joe's, and you had the musical South Pacific.
Oh, yeah.
And it really highlighted the tiki culture.
Now, the interesting thing about tiki culture is you will get certain elements that get forward in that culture. Like right now, mm-hmm. anything left over, what most recent run on
mm-hmm.
tiki is all pineapple.
Okay.
And prior to that, we've had coconut, and prior to that, there was the tiki, the tiki, mm-hmm. Tiki symbols. It even within the trend, mm-hmm. it's culture. It pings bits, but pineapples got really trendy for a hot minute there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of those things that's sort of neutral, mm-hmm. that comes and goes.
Right. That's
Lilo
fashion.
and Stitch is another good example of it coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's kind of on the rise. We'll probably
Well,
see a
that's
little
because
more.
they made the new movie.
Yeah, and it's
That's
fun.
what that's about. Yeah, but it's a part. So
Mhm.
we'll see more Hawaiian come back a little bit because of that, but it'll
Mhm.
probably peter out relatively quickly.
Yeah. So pay attention to what colors you're using,
And how you're using them.
and how you're using them,
Mhm.
as both a business and a consumer.
Yeah.
And let's kind of end on a positive note. Yes, go out. By all means, celebrate your red, white, and blue.
Yes, celebrate your country.
If you want to do it in a non-threatening manner, I would suggest stripping out the stars and the stripes,
Mhm.
and sticking with solid colors.
Mhm.
That's a great way of doing it. Um, you know,
And don't blow stuff up.
don't blow yourself up.
No, don't light any fires. All right, have a great weekend, and we will talk to you one more time this month because we're going to go on vacation in a couple of weeks.
All right,
All right,
bye.
bye.